Hey, it's party time, Mom. Welcome to another episode of the Chad Prather Show. We are in the Mothership, Studio 22, the Mothership, Mama. Chance the Soulless Ginger Rapper driving us into the nether regions. We have a debate tonight, just in case. We have a debate that's coming. That's right. Kamala Harris, Mike Pence. Tonight, Mike Pence has agreed to have a plexiglass shield between them. This coronavirus thing has become a cult.
Yeah, it is.
It's become a cult. Because, face it, even once they come out with a vaccine, there will still be a substantial group of people who continue to wear masks everywhere they go.
No doubt.
They will continue the mask shaming. And there's no science that proves that masks work or are effective in any way.
I think it's because they think they look better with a mask on.
I was going to say the same thing.
Ugly.
Some should probably keep wearing a mask. I mean, somebody might think I should keep
wearing
a mask.
What she just said and what you just said are two very different things. She said there are people who think they don't look good. You just said you think people don't look good.
Oh, yeah, I know.
That's two very different things. I want to make sure that y'all understand the mind of a narcissist. That's what Steve said. That is what Steve said. Did you catch that, boys and girls?
Like if you've got the smoker wrinkles around your lips, you know? The
sucking wrinkles
the sucking.
From sucking on stuff your whole life.
I'm gonna get those later.
Yeah.
If you have jacked up teeth or something like that, you'd be like, oh, I can wear a mask. And
I think both of you are probably wrong. But I don't. It's a cult. It's a cult. I'm telling you, these people are worshiping at that altar, that safetyism altar. And I mean, you watch these people walking around. They got them. Your nose is hanging out. They're down on their chin. They're not even wearing these stupid things.
That's what I do.
I mean, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I got in trouble in the hotel lobby like 3 times this weekend, and we were up in wherever we were at last weekend.
Well,
Omaha.
Let me tell you what it's like to travel with Steve real quick. Steve lives in Steve world. It's just Steve's world, okay? So if you're driving a car that has a keyless ignition, you're just a push button deal, you know, you got the key fob. I put it in the cup holder in the console whenever I'm driving a vehicle like that. Steve puts it in his pocket.
Yeah.
Steve forgets it's in his pocket.
Right.
Right? I don't put it in my pocket because who knows? I might flip the car over, the thing catch on fire, and somebody needs to turn the ignition off. That's one of the things that you do when you come upon a car wreck and somebody's unconscious is you turn the ignition off, okay? So I might need access to the key. I don't know. I don't want to go digging around in somebody's pants that's been thrown, 50 yards.
Well, you're not
going
to find the key if it's in the cup holder. It's gone.
Maybe not. We don't know.
And I'm wearing a seatbelt, so I'd still be right in place.
Maybe, but then I got to dig around in his pants.
And that's the problem.
I mean, theoretically, I could just push the button and turn it off.
That's where my head
there.
was at first. But yeah,
no, seriously. I just don't do that.
Okay.
Now, Steve turns in the car the other day at the deal, at the rental car place. I'm getting calls in Nebraska from a Nebraska number. Steve has left the car rental place, come all the way back to the airport terminal, and guess what?
Key.
It's in his pocket.
Yeah.
Hey, but the better part of that story is I turned it into the wrong rental car company.
Oh, gosh.
But the guy, he was at Hertz and was supposed to be at Dollar.
Yeah.
And which are the same company, but they're just on different levels.
Steve.
I guess Dollar's the cheapest one, and Chad used Dollar that week. But anyway, so the guy recognizes me from the show and stuff and says, "Oh my gosh, I love watching y'all every day. So thanks, Sterling, for he took the car back for me when I did take the fob back to him." So
he drove it up a level.
Yeah, he drove it up a level.
One level. Yeah. I have driven Joseph's truck, and he got out, and then I had to go drive some of our friends home. He had the key fob in his pocket, so when I went to their house, turned the car off, that was the truck stayed there.
Well, it's notorious whenever he's pumping gas, he'll go into the store or whatever or we go to the convenience store, and the thing starts beeping while I'm still sitting in the car.
Right.
Because he's left with the key.
Chad hates beeping.
I do hate
noise
beeping.
of any kind.
I pretty much hate all that.
He doesn't like cell phone dingers or nothing.
Yesterday, Kyle, that travels with us, our other road guy, Kyle, and he's in town because we're traveling to Utah this weekend. He needed the car. Steve gets in his vehicle to drive away after we've gotten back from the airport. Tony picks him up. Guess what he's got in his pocket? The Mercedes key. The dude, anyway. Hey, Tac Pack, the premier monthly subscription box for military tactical prepper, Second Amendment enthusiasts. $50, guys. $49.95 a month. You're going to get at least $100 worth of gear from different companies like 511, Sons of Liberty, Gunworks, Mission First Tactical, Armaspec, and more. They're going to send you some AR-15 parts and accessories, some everyday carry tools, knives, and gear to keep you prepared for when it hits the fan. And as you all know, it's currently hitting the fan. The November pack has a value of $120, and that's right. You pay $49.95, you'll get a box full of gear worth of $120. You know, right now they say that 62% of Americans believe we are headed towards a civil war. That's an amazing
big
statistic.
Number.
And they're saying that a big portion of those people are prepping. They are preparing for something like that. God forbid something like that happens. But this is the kind of thing that's getting real out there, folks. You need to subscribe to Tac Pack. Past 3 months, their boxes have sold out early, so you need to get signed up for the November pack ASAP. Use promo code CHAD at checkout to receive a free extra bag of tactical goodies shipped out with your first pack. If you want to pack ASAP, you need to sign up and shoot them an email at info@tacpack.com. That's TAC pack.com. info@tacpack.com. Don't wait. They're flying off the shelves. Go to tacpack.com. Sign up today. And remember, use offer code CHAD. We'll be right back. Real good. Steve just starts, during the break, just starts tearing up the set, doesn't put things back the way it is.
He didn't put it back the way it was.
They'll never notice. That one person will notice.
No,
it's
no
out of
one
the shot.
knows. You can't even see it.
It's out of the
Okay.
shot.
Can't
We're
even
okay.
see it.
I thought it was.
Okay, so got a debate tonight. This is what I'm looking forward to. Mike Pence and
Kamala
Harris. I don't think you're going to get the same kind of debate as you got with Donald T. and Joe Biden, Joe B. Just because those guys are just characters. Mike Pence is a lot more reserved. Kamala's a little more in your face with the
You have a pacifist, and I don't know that Pence is necessarily he just comes across as real mild.
He's very calm and collected.
And
He's
then
not a
you have
pacifist, but he's very calm.
And that kind of, as far as the way it's going to look, I feel like it's going to look like she beats him up.
Well, and I think Pence is going to follow the rules of debate. That's my own, whereas Mr. Trump, that wasn't a debate. I mean, let's be real.
It was a free-for-all.
It was just a fight.
It was a free-for-all.
For sure.
No, I think Pence is a lot sharper than people want to think.
Yeah.
But you just don't hear that much from Mike Pence a lot of times. But I mean, he's the guy who has spearheaded this whole coronavirus thing. I mean, the guy's got a lot of facts. He's been on the front lines with this deal. He's been very active with it. So I think he's going to be just fine.
Well, he doesn't have to say a lot. He's got a bulldog in front of him, saying everything.
Yeah. So I hear that you got in a little bit of trouble for calling my burps the burp of Satan.
I said they sounded like Satan. I got in trouble from one guy.
Yeah. You know what I say to people like that? Shut up. Shut up. We have fun on this show if you can't enjoy it.
He said I insulted.
But your response was, you nailed it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Steve's kissing up now.
Thank you.
No, I'm just saying. So what was your response?
He said, how, you don't, that's insulting. It's disgusting. Don't compare his burps to Satan, to God's enemy.
Prince
and I'm
of
like,
darkness.
To God's enemy. And I said, that battle's been won, bro. God doesn't care.
Satan.
God won that. Christ won that war. We're good.
Think Jesus burps?
I mean, I think, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
You think his fishing buddy said, oh, that sounded like, hell?
Bro!
Probably so.
He has to have a sense of humor for all he has to put up with all of us.
Yeah.
You think about it. You think of fishermen and stuff, and that's who Jesus hung out with. Their sailors are.
I just like throwing random thoughts out there because I know right now on the live chat while people are watching this, everybody's now you guys in the Fact Pack are talking about. Well, of course Jesus burps.
Well, sure.
I can't believe you brought up Jesus burping.
I thought I remembered him winning a burping contest over in Matthew.
Every time he did it, Peter thought a rooster was crowing. Oh no! What did I do?
If Jesus wept, it could have been Jesus burped.
Well, he was a human.
I mean, it could have been.
Right at the Last Supper?
It could have been. Did you, when I was singing R. Kelly the other day, did you like his little fades? Chance the Soulless Ginger Rapper. Chance was giving us the little music video fades over, and people were like, "Ooh, nice fade, bro."
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Michelle Obama, man. Michelle Obama is not a lovely woman, in my opinion.
On the inside?
And just on the outside.
Okay.
And the inside. And I just don't, like, I'm tired of everybody trying to pretend like she's some kind of beautiful woman or something like that. And I think they do that to come at Melania a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But, I mean, she's just not a pretty lady to me, in my opinion.
Melania is aesthetically pleasing.
She is.
I think that just depends on who's looking at her.
Well, you know, that's true.
Well, I mean, a beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
That's
beer
right.
holder.
Yeah. So
Eyes of the beer holder.
But Michelle, she's she jumped on. Everybody's seen it on social media. She basically came out and said that it's Trump's fault that any BLM protests devolve into any violence.
Stop.
That most of them have been, a vast majority of them have been peaceful. Only a very small amount of those have been violent at all. Just a little fraction of those. Well, I mean, just a little fraction of Hitler's life killed 6 million Jews, but we won't worry about those fractions. We got a little clip here. Let's take a look at Michelle Obama.
They're stoking fears about Black and brown Americans, lying about how minorities will destroy the suburbs, whipping up violence and intimidation, and they're pinning it all on what's been an overwhelmingly peaceful movement for racial solidarity. It's true. Research backs it up. Only a tiny fraction of demonstrations have had any violence at all. So what the president is doing is once again patently false. It's morally wrong. And yes, it is racist. But that doesn't mean it won't work.
There's been a couple of videos, meme videos out there of her, and behind her they've cut out the background and they've just got the cities on fire and the cars being beat up and blasted and stuff. And I mean, that's not all BLM. A lot of that is Antifa. And I mean, you can lump all that in there together because really the agenda is the same. And if I was having that conversation with Michelle Obama, my question would be, okay, so what's the goal here? You want racial reconciliation. What does that look like? When are you satisfied? When do you look at something and say, okay, that's because there's always going to be something that you can look at and say that was wrong. This police officer did something wrong. This individual did something wrong. This person did something to another person whose skin color was different than theirs. But does that mean that we live in a world without racial reconciliation at all? I mean, does that really cross the average person's mind? I mean, that's like saying that the average American out there is militant and ready to go out there and blow everything up because they don't like the way things are going politically in this country. That's patently false.
Here's my frustration.
Come on.
She's
talking, Steve.
Sorry, Steve. Just 1 second. She sits there and points all of that at Donald Trump, and she says most protests have been peaceful. Okay, if that's the case, then why didn't you blame the media? That's where we've seen it all. The media shows because if it bleeds, it leads, but she does not mention once that maybe the media is racist. If you're going to show all of that rather than the more peaceful protests, because if it bleeds, it leads. They show it. So why don't you sit there and call out the media for that? She didn't. She calls out the right every time and claims it's racist. No, it's not. No, it's not. It is what it is.
Dang.
It just gets me. I'm tired of being called a racist.
Well, I was just going to say that she was in the White House for 8 years with her husband, and school lunch violence, I'm sure, increased because of the lunches she put in front of our kids. But you got serious.
What the hell's wrong with him?
Scared me.
What is wrong with him? My Lord.
It just fires me up. I really am so frustrated. Not one comment about what the media is showing.
Yeah, but you're right. If they weren't continually pushing that and promoting that, you wouldn't even know that's going on.
That's the driving narrative.
Has your neighborhood been on fire?
Not yet.
Not yet. Has your neighborhood been on fire? Have they rioted in your neighborhood?
On the backside, I think they riot
every
couple
night,
times a week.
Yeah. But I mean, no. And the average neighborhood is not having that. But yet, if somebody, let's say in England, was watching American news, they would think the whole country's on fire because the media is promoting that narrative. Like all of our cities are on fire, everything's inflamed, we're at war in the streets.
And let's be real, it's not good.
No, it's not good. But to say, the vast majority of these things have been peaceful, no, you're promoting, the vast majority of what you're promoting, the media, has been violence.
Yes.
They're not showing peaceful protests.
Yep.
They're showing people who are tearing up restaurants. They're showing people who are getting in old people's faces while they're just trying to have a meal. I saw a video yesterday of them. Some Hispanic birthday party. They were tearing the tables down and all that stuff. The people out there trying to eat their cake,
macing each other,
and just crazy. I mean, then you've got the guy that got arrested the other day because they had the lay down protest in the middle of the highway, which is dumb. And this guy's in his truck, and he tossed a smoke grenade out, and they all scattered. And then he got out with his firearm and was basically saying, "Come at me, bro."
Well, that was after they started hitting his truck with everything too.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So, yeah. I mean, that's what you got going on. It's kind of crazy. I got smoke grenades. If I could find me a black market place to get a few flashbangs, y'all give me a shout. They're only selling them to law enforcement right now. But anyway, speaking of all that, so listen, guys, whenever you have had the same car insurance or homeowner's insurance for years, you kind of get trapped into paying your premiums. You don't even think about it, and that's going to make it easy for you to overpay, and you don't even realize you're doing it because you're just in the habit of paying it every month. So I want you to stop overpaying for car and homeowner's insurance today. See about getting a lower rate for the exact same coverage you already have, and you can do it thanks to our great friends at Gabby. Now, Gabby's going to take the pain out of shopping for insurance by giving you an apples-to-apples comparison of your current coverage with 40 of the top insurance providers like Progressive and Nationwide. They've got me with Travelers. Just link your current insurance account, and in just minutes, you're going to be able to see quotes for the exact same coverage you already have. And you're probably going to be like most Gabby customers and save $825 per year on average. And if they can't find you savings like they did for me, they're going to let you know. That way you can relax and know you've already got the best rate that's out there. They're never going to sell your info, so you're not going to have to worry about any of those annoying robocalls or spam calls. And it's totally free to check your rate. There's no obligation. Just take a few minutes this evening. Stop overpaying on your car and home insurance. Go to Gabby.com/watchchad. That's GABI.com/watchchad. Gabby.com/watchchad. Get over there today. We'll be right back. All right, we're back, and obviously we've made a little seat change here. Instead of Natalie, former mayor of Irving, Texas, Beth Van Duyne. She's running for Congress, District 24, right here where we're sitting. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, you're right in the heart of the district.
I know. Thank you for coming in. You and I met when another host was here at the Blaze a few years ago, and I've followed you, always been impressed with what you did with the city of Irving.
Thank you.
And I'm certainly impressed with how you've handled this race. Why Congress? Why the push for this?
You know, I look at the leaders that we have up there now, and I think there's a lot lacking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think you need someone who is very strong, who has an articulate message, and who has a backbone. And I look at this point in time in our cities or in our nation's history, and, you know, you've had so many people who've gotten elected who have said one thing and then gone up there and just kind of fallen into the flow, especially in 2018 when you had Democrats who went up there and they said that they were going to fix healthcare. They were going to fix infrastructure and pass bills that people cared about, and you haven't seen it. And, you know, I think about my experience 6 years on the city council in Irving, one of the top 100 largest cities in the country. And then I think about my time as mayor and then working for the Trump administration under Ben Carson for 2.5 years at HUD, where I really got to see inside the belly of the beast. You know, you need people up there who have experience and who can look at economic development. The time that I was mayor when I was elected, it was in the middle of a recession. And we added 40,000 jobs, $3 billion worth of economic development, became the 5th safest city in the country, working on public safety, working on economic development. And really, the last 7 months, our concentration needs to be on bringing jobs back. Yeah. And that's my experience. That's what I've done.
We said it I said it to you sort of tongue in cheek, but it's a great point. It's a safe city.
Yeah.
Irving's a great city. I love it over here. I don't live in Irving, but I love Irving. Yeah. Always have.
We need to get you over here.
It's not a city that's on fire. It's not, you don't see the riots and the craziness going on in the streets. And why is that?
I think, early on when I was on city council, we enacted a program where our officers actually fought crime. Yeah. And our citizens, our residents appreciated that. So did our businesses. Early on, we had this criminal alien program where the city was working with Customs and Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, ICE, to go after criminal illegal aliens in our city. And we got a ton of outside negative press from activists, New York Times, CNN, who all said, the fact that you're doing this just shows that you are a racist city. And the fact is we did have more criminal illegal aliens deported in the city of Irving at one point in time than any other city. But for people who called us racist, they didn't understand the issues. People who were here illegally were those members who were being most preyed upon in our community. So by us going after gang members, us going after drug cartel members, us going after sex traffickers and getting them out of our city, it actually made the city safer for everybody that lived here. And we had the lowest crime rate in our city's history for 9 straight years. We became the 5th safest city in the country. And when we had outside activists come into our city and try to intimidate leadership, that we were somehow hateful or bigoted or racist because we were, enforcing the law. We were threatened that businesses were going to move and people weren't going to want to move here. And what we found is we had some of the fastest population growth that this city has ever had. And we had some of the largest economic development growth we've ever had. Yeah. People want to live where they feel safe.
Yeah. I like to drink in Irving. I like to eat, I like to eat too, but I like to drink in Irving. There's great places here.
There's awesome places
here.
There's
great live venues for a person in the entertainment industry. There's great live venues.
The ranch is awesome.
The ranch is amazing. That's our regular staple over there. Back before the Rona started killing, 100 million people, as Joe Biden says. We every Monday and Tuesday we were over at the ranch, and so that's the kind of it's like a second home over here for me. And I owe that to you, Beth. I owe that to you, Mayor, because
actually,
you
the
did
ranch
it.
Privately held. They put all that money in there, but we try to help them out as much as we can with pragmatic business solutions. Right? You have an atmosphere where it's a good business environment. That's where people want to live. That's where people want their kids to go to school, and that's where people want to build businesses.
Let's talk about that. We just played that clip from Michelle Obama. Let's talk about this idea of systemic racism and what the real problem is, and the police in your district, the police in your city. What's made the difference in that area?
Well, I'll give you an example. The example that I was using earlier, where we had our police that were under attack by outside activists. What you found was our city appreciated the job that police officers were doing. And one of the first programs I did when I got elected back in 2004. 16 years ago, I did our Citizens Police Academy. It's an 11-week academy where you go in, and I thought it was important since it was one of the largest portions of our budget that I understand what the police do. They know who I am and I know who they are. And as a result, I saw, every day the risk that they put their lives, and quite now it's not just their lives, but it's their families' lives. Yeah. And so we championed, advocated, and helped support programs that got our police officers outside into the community. So we had a coffee with cops. We had a rape aggression defense course where we worked with young girls and their moms, teaching them self-defense and really to have a voice. We worked with our police athletic league that worked with at-risk kids in our community. And what we found was they were getting out and people were getting to know them and respecting the job that they did, respecting the risks that they took every day. We created a program called Shop Talk that got our police officers into Black-owned businesses. And not only did they get to know the owner, but they also got to know the clientele, and they got to know who they were. So it was a mutual relationship and bridges that we were building. And every quarter there was a lunch that these Black-owned businesses would come in, and we would sit down. They had some of the city leaders, our police chief, our city manager. And a few months ago, I was talking to the city manager, and he said they had one of those quarterly luncheons. And there were 2 shop owners that came in wearing Black Lives Matter T-shirts. And there was a concern, how this was going to go. Both of those individuals got up and they thanked our police chief, our city manager, and our police department for the job that they do in the community, keeping everyone safe, and for the mutual respect they had. And they said if every police department was run like Irving's, there would be no problems across the country. Yeah. And we as leaders, you saw some of the divisiveness that we had in our council and how we didn't always get along. But one of the things that we always agreed upon was to support our police. And I think that kind of leadership is necessary. When you see mayors, like the mayor of Atlanta, Seattle, throwing their police departments under the bus, that's their fault. Those are policies that they either haven't supported or that they never even thought about. It's their fault. Yeah. And as city leaders, when they sit here and they can condemn their own police departments who are enforcing laws that they are helping create, they need to take that role and be held publicly accountable. Yeah. And we seem to have lost that.
So what we have is not necessarily systemic racism as much as a systemic lack of programs and communication and relationships between law enforcement and the community in many cases. And a lot of times you have those mayors, as you mentioned, some of those select cities that are doing everything they can to pass the buck, place the blame, put the burden on the police force. And, I spoke down at the Houston Police Department a couple of weeks ago for a breakfast, and, the diversity that was in the room was amazing, down there. And everybody was listening, and they cared about each other, and they cared about their community. And that's what we see across the board with these folks. We were talking about it earlier. Natalie was talking about the media. If it bleeds, it leads, right? You're going to focus on the things that exacerbate the situation and make it look worse. If you're in England and you're watching American television, you think that America's on fire right now. And it's not. We have good cities here.
Well, and not all crime safety measures are law enforcement answers and solutions. Right. We had an area down in Irving. It was called Tudor Lane, and it was bad. I mean, it was just one of those areas that you drove by. You're
Steve, you ever been to Tudor Lane?
No, sure hadn't.
Okay.
And you're like, why isn't anybody doing anything about this? It was right across the street from one of our middle schools.
Oh, wow.
And it was, you had hypodermic needles on the street. There was prostitution. There was sex trafficking, gang violence. And we decided, we had pushed officers there, but it still was crime-ridden. And so we ended up working with programs at the state and at the federal level to be able to buy some of those houses that were empty, that were being used as drug houses, buy them, knock them down, and we built affordable housing. And what we found was we turned this area, the crime rate dropped by 80% almost immediately. Yeah. And it wasn't throwing, police at it. It was looking at out-of-the-box solutions to be able to fight crime. And it worked, and we don't do that enough.
Just proactive leadership and elected representatives is an amazing thing, and the difference that it makes when you have folks who just really want to quit passing the blame and passing the buck. I see this all across the country, these guys that, the Ted Wheelers and the Andrew Cuomo's and the Garcetti and Gavin Newsom and all these different guys that you could name off, Warren Wilhelm, Bill de Blasio, of course, in New York. These guys are just, it's a joke to watch these guys. They are so lacking in leadership. Yeah. And they just want to pass the blame.
And I served with them when I was on the U.S. Conference of Mayors board. I served with mayors, and we have some great mayors across the country. We really, really do. But so many of the larger city mayors have horrendous policies in place that they stand by. And it's not the systemic racism, it's the systemic failure of these policies. Throwing more money toward education that's not going anywhere, looking at some of these programs, it breaks your heart. When I was at HUD, to see 3 generations in public housing, because we're not doing anything to help these people be independent. We're not teaching them tools and trades and skills that will be able to get them out of that poverty. We're just carrying it on. And there are policies that we have explored, but so few have put in. And for an example, Undersecretary Carson, I love him. I went to go work for that man, and during my first interview with him, He said, look, we need to revamp how we look at entitlement programs. And we have to stop looking at their success by the number of people we get into these programs and look at it by the number of people we graduate out of these programs. Yeah. And part of that is creating wealth. It's wealth accumulation that we are lacking. Paying people, monthly stipends is never going to accumulate wealth. But for example, with Carson's rental reform, there was an opportunity that if somebody is living in public housing, putting a portion of the rent that they pay into an escrow account that adds up. And if they actually manage their place that they're living and they don't trash it out, when they leave, they have enough money to be able to put a down payment on a home.
Yeah.
And, studies will show you that people who actually own homes have 500 times the value, the wealth of those people who rent. And that's money that's wealth that can then be sent down to generations.
Yeah.
And you break the cycle of poverty, and it doesn't cost the government anymore.
It's amazing. And you've got a heck of a track record. And when we come back, I want us to really get into this race for Congress, okay? Because I got some questions for you.
Okay.
You're crazy. You're crazy, Beth. But you're my kind of crazy, and I like it. Listen, I don't know if you guys have noticed it or not. Your hair is not looking as full as it used to. Look at this head right here. See what I'm talking about? I know. It's trying to grow back, but I just keep shaving it down. Losing your hair is no fun, guys. You guys know that. So I want to talk about some options. You can go to your doctor for hair loss treatment, prescriptions. You can visit the pharmacy, and your jaw's going to drop whenever you see how expensive those medications are. You go broke just trying to not be bald, or you can try Keeps from the comfort of your lazy boy. You just get the same doctor-recommended FDA-approved hair loss treatment. Keeps is going to offer you the generic versions, which are about half the cost. And one more thing you're going to love about Keeps, it's all online. You just go online, answer a few questions, snap a couple of pictures of the top of your head, and a licensed doctor is going to review your info, recommend the right hair loss treatment for you, and then it's going to be shipped directly and discreetly to your door. So why make unnecessary trips to the doctor and drugstore when you can do it all from home? So get started with a special deal straight from our show. Go to Keeps, KEEPS.com/loss. They'll give you 50% off your first order of Keeps hair loss treatments. That's Keeps.com/loss. Keeps.com/loss. We'll get into the craziness of Congress when we come back. First of all, good job on the video with Dan Crenshaw.
That was so much fun. That was so much fun.
That was solid. I mean, that was a campaign ad.
We wanted to get out of just regular boring campaign ads, especially now when you're seeing them like every 30 seconds, right? It's a new campaign ad. We wanted something new, something different. But the whole point was patriotic, standing up for this country, and it's building a team. Yeah. And I think we forget about that when we get up there. You're one voice, but you got to be part of a team.
And that's one of the first questions I wanted to ask you before we get into your specific race is how hard is it to think of the concept of going in as the minority party?
Look, from the time that I got elected to city council, the time I got elected mayor, I've never been in the majority.
Okay.
But I've found that if you have a strong voice, if you have a mission and you've got goals, that even if you don't have a majority of votes, you can still get a lot done. Yeah. And I'm willing to talk to anybody who's an adult in the room. I'm very pragmatic. I'm solution-driven. And the whole politics of it is what I think I find most distasteful. Yeah. The policy is something I love.
Well, as we've kicked around ideas of governor races and all kind of things, here, there's been folks who said there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. You might think about Congress as we're going forward. And I'm like, how much can we get done? How much can you get done? How much can Beth Van Duyne get done if you're elected? And I believe you're going to be elected.
I hope so.
To Congress
I hope so.
This November. I mean, how much can you get done?
Well, one person by themselves is not going to be able to get much done at all. It's about building a team. And one of the things that I have felt most optimistic about over the last 14 months is I think Republicans had an opportunity to do a lot when they had the Senate, the House, and the presidency, and that was a failed opportunity. And I think they have learned from that. And I have seen so much cooperation, so much teamwork, and so much support from the party. Personally, I've felt it, but I've also seen it across the country. That I think when we get the House back again, there's going to be a lot that we can do.
I think you can get back. I really do. I think that can happen.
Especially now.
And your opponent, Valenzuela, I mean, you guys are pretty diametrically opposed.
Yes.
On pretty much all the issues.
Yeah.
How is that race going?
You know, it is a tight race. Back in 2018, when Kenny Marchant, who's held the seat for 16 years, was up for re-election, his Democrat opponent raised $100,000. He won with just barely over 50% of the vote. That put a target on the back of this district, and we have seen millions of dollars pouring in. In fact, the DCCC and Nancy Pelosi's House Majority PAC have already put in $7 million in my opponent's campaign to be able to say whatever they want. And it's obvious they're not. It's a DC-run campaign. They don't know the district. And I'll give you a perfect example. I have been pro-business. I have seen jobs flourish in this city, understanding that 3/4 of our tax base here was paid for by businesses, which means that 3/4 of our police, our fire, our roads were paid for by business taxes. And as a result, my focus was on increasing people's opportunities and empowerment to be able to get jobs, to be able to be successful. My opponent is the exact diametrically opposed to that. She thinks federal government needs to run every aspect of our life, from businesses to healthcare to when you can go out. There was a question yesterday asked during the Dallas Morning News editorial board about whether or not we supported the president coming down with a mask mandate across the country. She supported that, and I said absolutely not. But more important are some of her policies on energy. She signed a letter when she was on the school board in Carrollton Farmers Branch that basically said they were wanting to get rid of all energy production in the U.S. and ban fracking. Now, the energy industry in Texas employs 2 million people. She claims that she's for working families, and yet she would gut 2 million people out, 2 million jobs out of this state. She claims that she's invested in public schools, and yet the energy industry in North Texas alone, the energy industry puts $78 million in our public schools. But nobody pushes her on those policies. When we look at healthcare, she thinks a one-size-fits-all government healthcare plan is the best way to go. I think people want to be able to pick and choose their doctors, their services, what they pay for. We need to give people a lot more options to choose from to make it personal and not less. And anybody who's actually ever had to go and rely on the VA, for example, knows that you don't want to just be a box that gets checked and just a number. You want to be able to have more power and more freedom and more choices. And for that reason, we are completely different. Yeah.
Beth Van Duyne is running for Congress, District 24. That is Irving, Texas. And
goes from Fort Worth all the way to
Joseph
Dallas.
and I get to vote for her.
And that's what I was going to say. It's a big district. Yeah. It's a big, big district. And I remind people all the time, if you live in Texas, or you even consider Texas, 10th biggest economy in the world. It's massive. And you've already run what is the 95th largest city in America.
92nd.
Is it 92nd? Okay.
And it has the most diverse zip code in the country.
Really?
Yep.
So, I mean,
some of the largest companies. And,
I can't brag enough on the track record. So that's why I'm excited about what the future holds for you and for Texas and this district, which is a huge, huge district. It encompasses a lot of people, a lot of jobs, a lot of economy, a lot of opportunity, a lot of diversity. And so it's going to be fun to watch. I know that's probably not the word you use at this stage in the game.
Look, I love campaigning. I love getting out. I do. I think it's important. Yeah. I'm running against an opponent who is running her campaign relying on D.C. talking points and not getting off her couch. That's how she's running her campaign. She's not getting out. And, as public servants, we don't have the luxury of calling it in. Yeah. Our job is to get out and to meet with voters, to meet with constituents where they feel most comfortable. We're block walking, we're holding events, we're social distancing, we're trying to be as safe as possible, but realizing that my job is to listen and to represent. And if you're not willing to get out there, you're not fit for office.
You mentioned social distancing. How difficult is it to be in politics and have a true conviction and opinion when it comes to that and the masks and all of that stuff? Because we've seen a lot of this stuff run the gamut with Governor Greg Abbott here in the state. Do you have a strong conviction on that you can talk about in terms of what the future looks like in the next, say, 6 months to 12 months?
Well, I know we can't go back.
Right.
And you mentioned Bill de Blasio earlier, and I think about what that man has done to that city. Completely destroyed it. And they're now talking about closing down more schools and more boroughs. I mean, completely ignoring the fact that shutting down your economy has been so bad for everyone. Talking about kids not being in school and the number of depression medicines now, depression that they're under teen suicides, more child abuse cases now because they're not able to go to schools and have those mentors and people who are looking out for them. I mean, it's been devastating. And, we still don't know so much about this virus. Long-term effects, short-term effects. But, we know for certain one thing that kills is poverty, and not letting people have ability to be able to bring food home, to be able to go to work, be able to pay their rent, is caused more damage than we can possibly imagine. And we're going to feel that for decades to come. And even the Dallas Morning News said, we've lost almost, a third of students in Dallas ISD. They have no idea where they went. It's a lost generation. Yeah. We need to get the economy opened back up safely. And we also need to get kids back into school safely, but we can't go back.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. We've got just a few more seconds left. Your opinion as far as mail-in voting versus in-person voting. What's the importance there?
We have 3 weeks that we're going to have to early vote in District 24, almost 50 polling locations alone over 3 weeks and on Election Day. It is so much easier to just go in. You can go online and find out what wait times are. If you don't want to go in, they'll bring out the ballot box to you. There are a lot of options. I have seen, and there was an article about it last week talking about the issues with mail-in ballots. I have a problem with that. And I think anybody who really is focused on a fair and accurate vote would have a problem with that. And it shouldn't be it should not be a partisan issue. Yeah. Any American who is concerned about the legitimacy of their vote should be supportive of people going and voting. It's an important part of being an American, and we should all exercise that. I hear you. Beth Van Duyne, November 3rd is coming up, folks. Get out there. October 13th, early voting starts. That's exactly right, October 13th, and I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to vote a little early. She is our vote. Yeah. Thank you. We all need to get 10 people out to the polls. In our yard. So you bless you. Thank you for doing that. All right. We will be right back. It was a great little drop-in by Beth Van Duyne. She's great. She's awesome. Known her for, 5 or 6 years now. And I'm always impressed with her. Always impressed with her vision, her leadership, just a solid person. And I'm glad that she's doing what she's doing. And she's doing a great job. And if you want to find out more about Beth, her platform, and who she is and all that, you can go to Beth for Texas, F-O-R, bethfortexas.com and check her out over there and support her. If you've got the opportunity, highly encourage you support her on Election Day as well. So she's great. There's a lot at stake. You hear everything that she's done. Yeah. The changes that she's made in such a great city. Well, if you spend any time in Irving, you've seen the changes over the years, and she was very pivotal in making those things happen. It's one of my favorite areas in Dallas-Fort Worth. Yeah. It really is. So Steve and I are going to be heading out over to Utah, West Jordan, Utah, on Friday and Saturday. Steve and Kyle and I will be there. Our buddy Todd Johnson's going to open the shows for us. You can find out more information at watchchad.com. Then we're headed over to West Palm Beach, Florida for 4 days at the is it the Improv? Yeah, the Improv over there. And then we're headed to Greenville, South Carolina at the end of this month. So we're going to be at the Comedy Zone over there. Go to watchchad.com. That's where all the fun stuff is. And we will talk to you tomorrow night. We love you. God bless. Bye.